Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Re-electionist Senator Amy Marcos leaves her brother's senatorial slate, the Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas. Amy says her decision was prompted by the administration's actions recently. How will this move affect her and the Alianza slate's chances in the May midterms?
And speaking of the senatorial race, the SWS has a new survey which was conducted after the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. The survey says Alianza bets still dominate the top 12, but re-electionist Senator Bongo surges to the top spot.
And in other news, the tag-init season is officially upon us as the Amihan season ends. Just how hot will the coming dry months be? We'll discuss that with Pag-asa later on.
Now let's begin with Senator Amy Marcos officially withdrawing from the administration slate, Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas. In a statement, the senator says she can no longer campaign with its members and reiterated her decision to remain independent. She also claims the administration made decisions that went against her principles, which she will disclose in the coming days.
Now, the senator chaired the Senate hearing on the ICC's arrest warrant against former President Rodrigo Duterte. And she claims some cabinet officials repeatedly cited executive privilege and the sub judice rule to evade questions, suggesting they were withholding information.
Meanwhile, Alianza's campaign manager, Congressman Toby Tiangco, says that they respect Senator Amy's decision and wish her well in her campaign. Last week, President Bongbong Marcos did not mention his sister at rallies in Cavite and Laguna. However, in previous rallies, he publicly endorsed her even in her absence.
Meanwhile, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro had quite the harsh words for Vice President Sara Duterte, chiding her for staying with her father in the Netherlands. Yusek Castro even said if VP Duterte will be president, then the country would end up in a dumpster. She said this in response to the vice president's own words that the Philippines is bound to end up in a trashy situation because Filipinos are becoming hopeless of the current situation in the country.
Nawawala ang pag-asa ng mga Pilipino. Hindi ba siya yung nawawala sa Pilipinas ngayon? Hindi ba mas magiging mapupunta tayo sa dumpster kung ang magiging pangulo natin o ang magiging leader natin ay ang mga katulad nila VP Sara? Mahirapan po tayo magkaroon ng pangulo kung lagi po nasa abroad at hindi po ginagawa ang trabaho dito sa Pilipinas.
Still on the Vice President, Senate President Ces Escudero has turned down the request of the impeachment prosecutors from the lower house to require Vice President Sara Duterte to immediately respond to the articles of impeachment against her. According to Escudero, summons can only be sent to the Vice President if the impeachment court has already convened, and that none of this can be done while Congress is on session break. The Office of the Vice President confirmed that they received a copy of the House prosecutor's motion today. The Senate President has been saying that they could only convene as an impeachment court when session resumes on June 2nd. The day will be allotted to presentation of the articles of impeachment, and only on June 3 will they be permitted to release a writ of summons against the Vice President.
Madali sila ng madali. Pagdating ng panahon, hindi pala sila handa. So, ulitin ko, sana imbes na magmadali sila, gamitin nila ang panahon ito para magsanay, maghanda, kunin na lahat ng ebidensyang kailanganin nila para may presenta na maayos yung kanilang kaso, hindi lamang sa impeachment court, pero pati na rin sa publiko.
Now let's circle back to our top story. The prosecution has already submitted its evidence to the International Criminal Court on the charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte.
These are more than 100 pieces of evidence, all in all, pointing to Digong's commission of crimes against humanity during his administration's war on drugs.
And as this develops, it seems like the former president's camp is having a hard time assembling its legal team. Now we speak to Jovi Francisco, who joins us from the Netherlands to tell us more about these updates. Hi, Jovi. Good afternoon to you there. Can you tell us how, first of all, the former President Duterte is doing right now, and what are these pieces of evidence exactly submitted to the ICC against him?
Good afternoon, ladies. Good evening pala dyan sa Manila. Sir, there's no official word or reactions yet from the legal team of former President Rodrigo Duterte, mainly because, or maybe because, they are also busy with their own deadlines imposed by the ICC. Here's the report.
Very confident about the legal arguments, and there is no case to begin with.
Despite former President Rodrigo Duterte's opinion about the charges he is facing before the International Criminal Court, the proceedings of the Crimes Against Humanity case are definitely underway. Days after the ICC pretrial Chamber 1 ordered the prosecution and defense teams to disclose evidence and list down the number of witnesses on or before April 4 and 11, the ICC posted an update on its website pertaining to the situation in the case of the prosecutor versus Rodrigo Roa Duterte. It appears that the prosecution panel already submitted 181 items related to the disclosure of evidence, most of which are confidential in nature, but can be disclosed to the defense panel. The update was dated March 24, Monday. Meanwhile, the Vice President recently gave updates about the formation of her father's legal team.
Hindi pa mabuo yung team kasi we're waiting for papers for other lawyers. Wala pa pong Filipino lawyers ngayon. Yun ay ginagawaan pa ng shortlist.
Back home in the Philippines, the children of the former president argued that the petitions they filed seeking to bring their father home are not moot and academic. But according to Attorney Gilbert Andres, the petitioners should be reminded that the ICC already publicly declared that Duterte is now under its custody. Attorney Cristina Conti wishes the Duterte children to follow their sister Sara's lead, move on, and engage the ICC directly.
Ladies, we are awaiting for the Vice President to make an appearance here at The Hague, especially because we want to ask her about the formation of the said team that will defend her father, and also about the issues there in Manila, specifically the summons that the House of Representatives wants to give out para sa makabalik diyan o kaya ay makausap nila.
Jovi, do we know if Mr. Duterte has seen these pieces of evidence?
Okay, if Ses, kung sa tingin ko lang mukhang hindi pa dahil kagabi lang yan lumabas publicly. Pero at the same time, although dated yan ang March 24, we haven't seen at least yung mga lawyer niya na si Attorney Nick Kaufman enter the penitentiary to brief the president. The last time that someone close to the president went inside ay at least Monday pa yon, si Vice President Sara Duterte, at that time ay hindi pa rin aware si Vice President doon sa mga details na iyan.
Mm-hmm. And Jovi, well, the former president's birthday is fast approaching this Friday, March 28. Ano yung mga preparasyon na ginagawa nila dyan sa The Hague? And when are we expecting his family members to arrive there in the Netherlands?
Okay, first, the family members are expected to arrive on the 28th. Sa mismong araw nung birthday ng dating Pangulo. About the plans, of course, it's gonna be via messaging doon sa mga supporters. Hindi ko lang kung nakita nyo kanina sa likod ko, nandiyan yung ilang mga supporters. Maski sila nagtatanong kung ano yung plan for Friday. But we were told that they won't be mounting the scope or yung ganong klase ng meet and greet na nangyari nung Sunday because that will require them to apply for permits. So the Vice President's pushing for a picnic sa park. So sabihin, kasi yan allowed yun without permit. Pupunta lang doon ng mga supporters, kakain sila, magpipicnic sila, tapos pupuntahan na lang ni Vice President.
Jovi, pagdating naman dun sa legal team, no? So nabanggit mo nga, of course, Attorney Nicholas Kaufman is there. But since late last week, we were expecting more foreign lawyers to arrive. Is there some complication, no, to the assemblage of this legal team?
Based sa interview namin, Sean, with the Vice President, nasa process siya ng vetting yung mga application or at least yung mga names na submitted sa kanya. No? At doon sa aming conversation with her last Monday, late Monday afternoon, hindi pa talaga final sa kanya kung sino ang tatanggapin niya aside from Mr. Kaufman.
Now, there is also talk about a no remittance week from the supporters of the former president. What are you hearing over there?
Yes, Ces, we heard that first during the meet and greet. Some of the supporters were chanting that proposal during the event. But the thing is, and then about the day after, we saw that OFW from Croatia, or yung kababayan natin from Croatia, telling SMNI of that specific plan. The thing is, when we wanted to follow up, hindi na namin siya ulit nakita dito. So we don't know kung tuloy ito or hindi. Kasi may mga iba kami nakausap, says, ng mga OFWs na sinasabi nila na papaano yun, kung hindi sila magpapadala. Parang ganun din. Magpapadala sila ng in advance at magpapadala after. So padala pa din yun. At ang mahihirapan lang sa adjustment ay yung mismo mga kaanak nila, hindi ba, Ces?
Oh, malaking dagok din yun sa mga pamilya nila dito na nag-aantay.
Pero balikan natin, Jovi, yung birthday ni Pangulong Duterte. Earlier nga, tama ka, nabanggit nga ni VP Sara na mas gusto na lang niya small picnics daw kasi ang hirap daw kumuha ng mga permits dyan sa Hague. Pero kung picnic siya, meron bang clear rules delineating it from an actual protest action like bawal placard, ganon? May mga ganyang rules ba dyan?
Ang magiging bawal ay yung kasi kapag mayroong mga events kailangan lagyan ng barricade yung paligid. So it's a very big park, Sean. So hindi binibigay yung buo. So yung portion na kailangan barricaded. Of course dapat may mga portalets, required 'yon. Dapat may stage, may sound system at saka may security. So kung lahat 'yon ay so kung picnic, yun lang, itulak sila sa park na yun. Kanya-kanya daw dala ng pagkain, balita ko. At mag-group hopping yung mga organizers with the Vice President, Sean.
And Jovi, balikan ko lang din, yung sa formation ng legal team ni former President, sinabi naman ni Vice President Sara Duterte that they are considering to have at least one Filipino lawyer, but they're still in the process of shortlisting kung sino nga yung magiging abogado na yon. But na-explain ba niya yung rationale kung bakit isa lang yung magiging Filipino lawyer dito sa kaso ni President Duterte?
They want parang ang understanding ko, Pauline, from the statements made by the Vice President, it's really about there's someone, a Filipino, that will that would be able to explain kung ano yung gusto ng kliyente doon sa mga foreign attorneys, and bakit isa lang, mukhang kailangan talaga ng mga experts na talaga accredited dito sa The Hague.
Okay, and Jovi, we know you are technically our Mojo there, pero hinahanap na rin ng mga tao, tong si Mojo Kitty Duterte. Dumating na ba siya? Has there been any kitty or honeylet sightings there?
Okay, based doon sa press con, sinabi 28 ang arrival, tapos diretso doon sa penitentiary dahil sila yung gagamit ng visitation na slot na ginagamit usually ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Imagine natin they'll come in early kasi alam namin na hindi sabay dahil 28 naman darating yung mother ni Vice President. So para magkasunod darating. Pero wala pang sighting, baka pwedeng nandito na pero alamin natin yun, Sean.
All right. Alam namin na you'll be spending the rest of the day there, so we'll be awaiting your updates. Thank you so much. Jovi Francisco reporting from the Netherlands.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, the latest SWS survey shows quite a big shift in the Magic 12 of the senatorial race. And just how will Senator Amy Marcos leaving the Alianza ticket affect her chances? We'll discuss these further with campaign strategist Alan Hermar when we return. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. A new social weather station survey shows Senator Bongo now ahead, sharing the top spot with Representative Erwin Tulfo in the senatorial race.
Now, both candidates hold 42% support, with Tulfo dropping 3 points since February and Go gaining 4. The survey was conducted after former President Duterte's controversial arrest and turnover to the ICC.
Meanwhile, two Alianza candidates who were absent from recent rallies had different outcomes. Las Piñas Representative Camille Villar broke into the Magic 12 with 27% support, while Senator Amy Marcos, who recently withdrew from the slate and opposed Duterte's arrest, fell to 16th place. The survey, commissioned by the Strat-based group, was conducted from March 15 to 20 through face-to-face interviews with 1,800 registered voters nationwide.
With the latest SWS survey shaking up the 2025 senatorial race, political campaign strategist Alan Herman joins us to break down the numbers and their impact on the upcoming elections. Welcome to The Big Story, Alan. First question.
Hi, Seth. Always happy to be here. And to Pauline and Shawn, good evening. Lots of shakeups, as you mentioned, Seth. Very interesting times.
Well, Bongo still is steady at 1 or 2. What explains his hold on the top?
Well, the formula is always the same. No, it's always really just recall and branding, which Senator Bongo has in spades. He is an incumbent senator, and he really latched onto the malasakit branding. He's equivalent to the malasakit. When you say the word, you immediately associate with him. It's a strong gut feel. The voters really have connected with it. So it's that. And of course, you can't take away the fact that there was an inflection point, namely the arrest. First, the impeachment of the vice president, whom he is strongly allied with, and then the arrest of the former president Duterte, which has what we call a suction effect. Meaning to say, when it's when there's a big inflection point like that, the stay votes will tend to consolidate. That's probably the same thing that happened to Senator Bato as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to Amy, who has really had a big drop. Is this because you said disciplinado si Bongo sa messaging niya? Is this the opposite that you might say about Amy?
Well, it's been said time and again, ad infinitum, ad nauseum almost, that the problem with Senator Amy is that she's straddling between camps. Again, if you don't stand for anything, you will tend to really fall by the wayside because you're not courting any hardline votes. At the same time, there's still a question mark on your alliances. Is she pro PDP? Is she pro Alianza? Is she anti? Is she pro? She is still a Marcos, so the Duterte fan base will always view her with some suspicion because of by simple virtue of her last name. At the same time, on the Alianza side, you will also, in fact, she has been dropped from the slate. She was no longer acknowledged in the past couple of rallies, ultimately leading to her formally leaving the party.
Yeah.
But,
is that a good thing, Alan, that she formally left? Do you expect?
Yes, she did formally leave today.
Yeah, so do you expect the April numbers to come in better for Senator Amy Marcos? At least ngayon, malinaw na. She's out of the admin ticket.
Sana luminaw. And again, there's that short-term suction for her, no? Sana luminaw. I'm saying sana gumanda for her. For her. At least if I was the strategist on her camp, I would definitely double down already and say pick a side. And due to her recent pronouncements, especially the Senate hearing questioning the arrest, wherein she was very, I don't want to say antagonistic, but it was clear that she was pointing out and underscoring the fact that the arrest of the former president was not up to speed and up to par in terms of ticking all the correct legal boxes.
It was antagonistic.
I think it's the right move for her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Alan, when this survey was conducted, you're right, the hearings weren't factored in yet, and her withdrawal from the Alianza slate. But I wanted to ask, do you think she still has a stronghold on the Marcos loyalists on the north? Will she be able to retain those votes while still also gaining the support of the DDS group?
Well, it's right now for the Marcos side, it's tricky for her. Because, again, even her own brother, the president, is no longer acknowledging her during rallies. Conspicuously, very, very conspicuously left her out during the reading and endorsing of candidates in the past couple of rallies. So in terms of securing that solid north, maybe there will still be some residual voters, because don't forget, she did serve as governor for a long time. So she still has that machinery in the north. But in terms of really consolidating that hardline Marcos fans, I think by this time they would view Senator Amy as a question mark at best and an adversary at worst.
Well, I wanted to ask, this is kind of random, but there was a phase in Amy Marcos's time, like late last year, she would always be wearing green. But now I notice she's always wearing red, although that is traditionally her color. Do you think there's some, like, a message there?
Well, it's an odd choice for sure. I mean, especially now, right? Now that she's formally left and now she's decided to wear the campaign colors. But you are correct in saying that the senator has always chosen red as her campaign color. But I don't expect her to change. I think that's more habit, or maybe, and by the way, I'm not trying to sound clever here or trying to make light of it, but you know, maybe this is her lucky color, or it's a feng shui thing. But I think traditionally she has been red, so I think she'll stick to it.
Now let's go to Camille Villar, who entered the Magic 12, although nanganganib pa rin. What advice would you probably give the candidate now that she's also looked up with some suspicion by the admin slate?
Suspicion? Is she really viewed with suspicion? Well, I think si Congresswoman
Well, they don't
Camille
exactly
made it clear.
say it, sorry, but then you can sense that there's some trepidation or distrust, maybe? No ba?
Sige, we'll find better synonyms for the word suspicion. But trepidation, sige, we'll go with trepidation. You know, I think what happened with Congresswoman Camille is that she and her family did take a side. They drew the line, and they went out publicly and actually supported the former president Rodrigo Roa Duterte, and said that it was not correct to have hide him off to The Hague and to have brought him before the ICC. So they did take that stand. So if there's trepidation, as you mentioned, if there is trepidation on the side of the admin slate when it comes to Congresswoman Camille, then it's very well warranted, because their family has made a side, taken a side. Now, what advice would I give her? I think she should slowly pivot away from her Bagong Mukha, Bagong Boses campaign. I thought that was a real head scratcher in terms of all people, Camille Villar, using a campaign like Bagong Mukha, Bagong Boses, when in fact she had, her father was a former speaker, a senator, her mother, a senator, and her brother as well. So it was an odd choice for me.
She did do better.
I think she should pivot.
But Alan, she did do better though. Finally, she made it to the cutoff line in the survey list, and I would say that's a good sign. Do you think? I know the survey was after the arrest. So do you think that had any bearing? Her mom, Senator Cynthia Villar, categorically saying which side she's on.
Again, there's that suction effect, and it was such a big suction effect that happened, because this was the inflection point of all inflection points. Never in our history have we seen anything quite as dramatic and polarizing. In fact, as a former president, a very popular, still very popular president, being arrested at the airport and taken to another country. So again, I think she benefited from the consolidation. If you notice, the other what's the most politically correct way of saying this? The other page 2 candidates from PDP suddenly also jumped up to page 1.
Right. Yes.
So we're talking about Congressman Dante Marcoleta, Attorney Jimmy Bondoc, Rosa, Philip Salvador also went up.
Yeah.
So I think there's that consolidation.
And speaking of that, Alan, right? I mean, talking about the events that unfolded in the past few weeks, do you think the Duterte allies were able to maximize that whole narrative? Because we know Filipinos usually root for the underdogs, right? So does that reflect in the voter preference that we are seeing in surveys right now?
Well, I don't know if underdog would be the best term to use at this point, because it really it's diametrically opposite from the Duterte brand. I mean, to suddenly portray themselves as an underdog from such a strongman demagogue to suddenly an underdog again. So I don't think this victim narrative is working. I would actually go the opposite way. I would actually use this as indignation. I would actually, if I was advising that camp, I would say, focus more on indignation, focus more on this is a tactic. The ICC shall be embarrassed. This is, again, the masterful stroke of the former president, etc., etc. But having said that, do I think they maximized it? They still are trying to, and I'm glad you used the word maximize and not milk. I think there is some milking happening. They're going to milk that for all it's worth. Hopefully they can, if you're a PDP supporter, hopefully they can milk that until May.
Senator Bato de la Rosa, though, Alan, he didn't fare too well. In fact, the gap between his numbers and Senator Bongo's numbers have actually grown wider. And I was wondering why these two are closely related to Duterte.
Well, again, I think the main determinant there is not so much it's not so much any weakness on Senator Bato's part, as it were. I think this is really more of Senator Bongo's very effective branding, owning that malasakit brand, having really gone boots on the ground during the incumbency of President Duterte. And he really, I mean, he was the de facto little president / SILG / executive secretary. I mean, he was everything rolled into one. And I think he is finally reaping the fruits of the political capital that he planted.
Akala ko sasabihin ni Alan, he's finally stepping out of the shadow of the former president and becoming his own man. Could you say that also holds true?
Alam mo, ang masasabi ko dyan is, di ba, ang knock parati kay Senator Bongo is alalay, di ba? Yan yung ano sa kanya, that's a derogatory term used to describe him. Alalay, alalay. The critics seem to have completely forgotten the fact that maraming Pilipinong nakaka-relate doon. Anong masama sa alalay? Ang alalay ay sumusunod sa master, learns the trade, is helpful, is an apprentice, is somebody who assists. So tumatak din yun eh. So there was some kind of backfire when that became the knock on Senator Bongo.
Okay.
And he played it up.
And Alan, what do you make of Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino's gains? I mean, they're just outside the top 12 and are still well within range.
Well, for the Liberal Party supporters, well, they're not exactly Liberal Party anymore, no, independent na sila. But people are obviously looking for a third force. There's also some staleness in terms of choice. We're bankrupt. A lot of people, a lot of Filipinos feel that they're bankrupt for choice. I'll use the term, it's not my term, but I hope I don't get blamed for this. Pero di ba the joke was, pwersa ng kadiliman o pwersa ng kasamaan. There's a lot of Filipinos that don't want to choose, don't want to have that hardline choice between the Greens, meaning to say the Duterte camp, or the Reds, the Marcos camp. So they are actively looking for that third option, and Senator Kiko and Senator Bam embody that. So in fact, I would probably expect a rise in the next coming surveys for Senator Bam and Senator Kiko, only because the suya factor for Filipinos is very real. Nakakasuya.
Ano ang kulang sa kanila? Bakit ang tagal bago sila umangat? I mean, they're not new to politics.
Anong kulang? Your political slip is showing, says I'm joking. anong kulang sa kanila? Well, actually, ang kulang talaga sa kanila, the candidacy stands on four legs, di ba? It's man, message, machinery, money. I really think that in terms of man and message, personally, this is my opinion, I think walang pagkukulang si Senator Kiko and Senator Bam as far as the man quadrant is concerned. I think they're qualified. I think they have credentials. I think they have a track record to back it up. In terms of the message, finally, thank goodness, they've gone from the abstract inspire messaging, which is no longer uso, hindi na kumakabit sa botante yan, and they've gone to hardworking messaging. Senator Kiko being pagkain, pagkain, murang pagkain, pagkain. Senator Bam being libreng kolehiyo, trabaho, sigurado. So it's education and jobs. Very hardworking. So I think they got that right. So maybe I think kung ano yung pagkukulang nila, it's probably on the machinery and money quadrant.
Alan, sorry,
Okay.
Ces. I'm just curious, I'm really curious. Nung nakita mo tong survey results, may nakagulat ba sa'yo at all? And kung meron, ano yon?
Well, ang pinaka-nakakagulat sa akin, honestly, is the slide of SILG Ben-Hur Abalos, or former SILG Ben-Hur Abalos. I didn't expect this drop to be that steep. I would think that being the former Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, imagine lahat ng LGU. Hawak mo.
So, ano
lahat
nangyari?
ng LGU, pwede mo
And he's
ikutan.
been very
Ang dali.
visible in his campaign.
The billboards.
Yes, ang dami mong billboards, di ba? Sabi nga nila, mas nakakasama mo pa si Ben-Hur Abalos sa biyahe kaysa sa boyfriend o girlfriend mo, di ba? Dahil kahit nasa ka sa traffic, kasama mo si Ben-Hur Abalos. So it's quite a head scratcher for me why he dropped that far. It's as mysterious to me as this weird shadow that's cutting my face in half. It's bizarre.
Wait a minute. Let's not forget Abby Binay, quiet in the middle. To what would you attribute her, being
Sir, can you come again?
in the Magic 12?
Sorry, we were talking about Abby Binay.
Yeah.
But what in particular?
Inaayos mo ba ang ilaw mo? Ano bang ginagawa mo dyan?
Ganyan talaga pag hanap-issue yung telepono ganyan talaga Walang pambili ng mamahalin na telepono Hindi ako big time katulad din niya So,
Nako naman, ang dami mong kliyente. Teka lang, Abby Binay.
The
I'm
steadiness
hard
of
on the
Abby
campaign
Binay.
trail. I'm super hard on the campaign trail. That's why I have to take these interviews on the road and with bad signal. Kaya ako nagkaganito. But of course, I cannot say no to you, to the three ladies na iniidolo ko. Si Abby Binay is tama ka. Just right down the middle, she's following the Cynthia Villar playbook. Do you remember the playbook of Senator Cynthia? Just straight down the middle, not ruffling any feathers, just putting her head down, biting down her mouthpiece, and doing the road work, building her leaders, building her machinery. She's got a good campaignable. Abby better. So tignan natin if her climb will continue.
And Alan, what about TV host Willie Revillame? Of course, making it, I believe, number 10 siya ngayon sa survey. What do you make of his gains as well?
Okay, alam mo si Willie Revillame, when he announced his candidacy, the first place he went to was actually your show, your program. I don't know if you remember that, no?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember
Well,
that,
I
Shawn?
wasn't here yet, so don't blame me.
Yeah, do you remember that, Shawn?
Yes, how can I forget?
Okay, and I was also the guest, di ba? I was also
Yes,
the guest.
you
Tapos
were.
inano siya. Tapos grinil siya ni Gretchen, kasi ganun si Gretchen di ba? Sama na ugali. But what can you say about Kuya Will? He's an old familiar, a very popular showbiz host, and it's almost muscle memory for people to choose him in an election because they feel like they know him. They feel like he live casts. Every aspect of his life seems to be available to people through his program, and the messaging is very clear. He's generous, namimigay ng jacket, namimigay ng pera, namimigay ng kasiyahan, which are so solid touch points for Filipino voters.
Okay, panghuli na lang. If the survey results will bear us out till elections, we will have 3 tulfos in the Senate. I mean, it's never happened before, right?
Yeah. So far, we're at 2 per family.
Yeah.
But 3
Three
is...
Tulfos in the Senate and 1 Tulfo in Congress. Secretary Wanda is also running for Congress.
But we also have Ralph Tulfo there and the ACT-CIS
Tama,
representative.
si Kong Ralph in
Tama,
Quezon
Si-
City.
Yung
Tama,
asawa ni
tama.
Sen. Rafi is also there as ACT-CIS.
So kung kanina,
correct.
sabi mo may umay factor, di ba, ang mga botante? So dito parang,
Parang
wala.
wala.
Oo. Bakit
Kasi
ganun?
isipin nyo naman yung the incomparable Tulfo brand which represents the respite, the person, the people who will help you when systems break down.
The last
Vigilante
resort,
justice.
parang ganun.
They equalize the playing field. Walang lamang, walang mayaman, walang padrino. Tulfo ang makaka-equalize ng playing field. Wala nang lamangan. It's a Philippines that is equitable, that is just. How can you beat that? And frankly, you can't tell them apart. And that actually helps.
All right.
Kasi ang tawag dyan, care multiplier. You can't tell them apart at any given time except for Ben. The smartest thing he did was wear shades. Actually, matalino yun, para at least may differentiator siya. But the Tulfo brand is has almost become an abstract thought. Juggernaut talaga yung Tulfo brand na yan. So, habang nandyan yan, while there are still failed systems, while government service is slow, habang may mga nanglalamang, and the Tulfo brand and the Tulfo programs are still there, laying the smackdown on abusers or alleged abusers, you can expect that they will always have a seat in public office.
All right, we thank you so much for your time at unti-unti nang pumipiyok yata ang ilaw mo dyan. Alan Herman, political campaign strategist, thank you for your time.
Man, I hope there's a better infrastructure.
Okay, let's go to some breaking news, shall we? This one again, circling back to our top story, which is all the way in The Hague. We were asking Jovi kung may sighting na ba nung mga Duterte siblings puwera kay VP Sara, and this just came in. Kitty Duterte is now in The Hague. We will give you more details as soon as we get them from our correspondent Jovi over there. But for now,
it is time to pause for another breather, but right after that, now that the dry season is upon us, how high will temperatures rise? Will it reach the last year's levels, the hottest year recorded in the Philippines since 1998? We'll ask Pag-asa on that in a bit. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. Major roadworks on EDSA are set to begin this Holy Week. According to DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan, the initial phase of EDSA's rehabilitation will prioritize the north and southbound lanes from Pasay to Guadalupe in preparation for the 2026 ASEAN meeting. Repairs will also cover the northbound lane from Balintawak to Monumento. The 8 billion peso project was finalized by DPWH, DOTR, and MMDA and was approved by President Bongbong Marcos last Monday. The plan includes the reconstruction of the Guadalupe Bridge, which is set to begin in 2026. To minimize disruption, the DPWH will also be constructing temporary bridges for motorists throughout the rehabilitation. The MMDA will release a detailed traffic management plan soon.
Siguro, i-time namin ng start of construction will be during Holy Week. Why, sir? So that hindi masyado yung traffic. There has been some adjustments in the implementation because of the ASEAN meeting that's forthcoming in 2026. So the President gave instructions that we have to give priority to Pasay to Guadalupe section, southbound and northbound. So doon kami magtututok muna. We have already presented it to the President 2 days ago.
So all set na po tayo for
all set. All set kami. And I think MMDA will be coming up with a more detailed explanation and presentation on the schemes that will have to be followed.
Meantime, here's some good news. All lanes on the northbound side of NLEX Marilao are now open to motorists. The 4 lanes were reopened early this morning since repairs on the damaged Marilao Bridge were completed earlier than expected. Recall that a truck carrying an overheight load hit the Marilao Interchange Bridge last March 19, causing significant damages. And let's share that although the northbound lanes are now open, supporting steel poles are still in place for the concrete curing of the bridge. And with the repairs on the Marilao Bridge now finished, traffic flow in that section of NLEX is expected to ease.
And shifting gears from road repairs to weather updates, Pag-asa officially announced the start of the dry season or tag-init following the end of Amihan or the northeast monsoon. Let's find out more about this with Pag-asa weather specialist Chanel Dominguez. Welcome to the Big Story, Chanel.
Hello po, good evening po sa inyo at good evening po sa mga tagapakinig po natin. So yes po, nag-announce na po ang Pag-asa ng pagtatapos po ng amihan season at nasa panahon na po tayo ng tag-init. Pero sa ngayon po, meron tayong binabantayang low pressure area dito sa loob ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Ito yung huling namataan sa line 315 km east ng Tagum City, Davao del Norte. Ito pong low pressure area ay mababa naman po yung chance na maging isang ganap na bagyo, pero inaasahan natin magdadala ito ng mga kalat-kalat na pag-ulan dito sa Visayas, Carga at Davao Region. Saan natin sa Metro Manila, nalalabing bahagi ng ating bansa, ang bahagya hanggang sa maulap na papawirin na may mga isolated rain showers or mga panandaliang pag-ulan dulot ng mga localized thunderstorm pagdating sa hapon at sa gabi. Para naman po sa ating heat index forecast, inaasahan po natin dito sa may Metro Manila, between 38 to 40 degrees Celsius po ang para bukas. At ang pinakamataas po pala natin na itala ngayong araw ay 46 degrees Celsius dito po ito sa may Dagupan City, Pangasinan. Para bukas, inaasahan din po natin, ganun pa rin po, danger level po dito sa may Dagupan City with 47 degrees Celsius. Yan po muna latest dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Chanel Dominguez po, magandang gabi.
Hi, Chanel. Chanel, matanong ko lang, no? Siyempre, ang daming nangangamba ngayong official na yung tag-init. Kahit na medyo late nga, no? End of March. How hot will this tag-init be, this dry season be? Makukumpara ba natin to sa last year na napakainit at nag-break ng mga world records?
Possible po, hindi po natin inaalis din po yung chance na maulit po yung last year din po natin na ganun kainit. Kaya iba yung pag-iingat lang din po para sa mga kababayan po natin. Pero kung mapapansin din po natin, dahil po sa epekto rin po ng mga weather system, katulad po ngayon na low pressure area, medyo mababa din po yung heat index na naitatala po natin. Kung magkakaroon po tayo ng mga ganito pong weather system, possible din po bumaba din po yung mga heat index po natin.
So Chanel, gaano ba kataas yung temperatura na maaasahan natin, yung heat index? Aabot ba ito ng 46 degrees o mas mataas pa doon?
Possible po, hindi po natin naalis ng chance na magkaroon. Last year po, kung maaalala po natin, umabot din po tayo ng 50 sa mga ibang lugar din po. So, hindi rin po natin naalis ng chance na magkaroon po ulit tayo ng ganito po. Lalo na po, ito po, start pa lang po natin ng pag-init at papasok po ng Abril po natin, doon po mas lalo iinit ang ating panahon.
And sabi mo nga, no, may binabantayan tayong low pressure area. Sabi mo, mababa yung chance na maging ganap na bagyo to. Pero, Chanel, curious lang ako, late ba na magkaroon tayo nitong weather system? Kumbaga medyo, it's been really good weather so far, no? Yung February, yung March. May aberya ba? Or normal lang ito?
Normal naman lang po yan. Kung maalala po natin ng mga nakaraang araw, nakaka-apekto din po sa atin ng Intertropical Convergence Zone or yung ITCZ. Ito po madalas po sa ITCZ, doon po may mga nabubuo po mga low pressure area at ito din po yung possible. Yung nangyari din po kaya po tayo may low pressure area po sa ngayon.
And siya na hanggang kailan naman na inaasahan na tatagal itong tag-init na panahon?
Inaasahan po natin, usually po, maabot din po tayo ng mga June po na habang tag-init po. Doon po, after po nun, magta-transition po tayo into tag-ulan po.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyo, Chanel Dominguez ng Pag-asa.
Okay, from the weather, let's turn our attention back to politics because our big picture tonight is who? None other than Senator Bato de la Rosa, this time with a new look. Senator Bato shared a photo of himself wearing a wig, seemingly poking fun at his own statement about using a disguise to evade possible ICC arrest. Interestingly, he said that the photo was taken back in 2017 during a break in the 86th Interpol General Assembly in Beijing. He shared this photo after admitting that disguises might not help him evade arrest, saying that people recognize him anyway.
Is that his real hair?
You know what? Si Bok Ed Linggao, meron siyang pinakita sa aking video niya na ginawa niya before that showed a young bato. Like a real young bato with his actual hair.
Okay. Was it similar to this photo?
Masyadong makapal to. Tsaka yung hairstyle ito medyo bumi-Beatles yung
Baka naman he's just making fun.
What do you think? To make light of the situation.
I think he is. He's always such a joker.
Yeah.
Kaya bumababa siya sa survey. Sorry.
Pero diba, you have Senator Verzosa saying na pumunta siya sa isang probinsya, diba? Nag-mask siya, nag-jacket siya, nag-cap siya.
Shades siya.
Pero namukhaan pa rin daw siya, sabi ng tao, kilala kita.
Si Bato ka.
Si Bato ka. So, I mean, we'll see if disguises will really work. But as far as this photo, it's also funny that it happened during an Interpol General Assembly, right? So, it's kind
maybe
of
they had a fireside chat about disguises during that assembly in Beijing. But we'll see, no? Ang dami ring balita about Senator Bato, yung supposedly tinanggalan daw siya ng police guard niya. So, di natin alam kasi dinena yata yun ng PNP.
You know, it struck me as strange na, natanggal pala yung, I mean, it was...
Weird? Affected?
It was weird. Parang, alam mo, there would be some communication. It's not just...
Yung parang pagdating mo, wala na sila.
Pagdating mo, wala na sila. Ganun, naglaho na lang silang bigla.
So are we buying the palace as answer to that? Which is along the lines of... well, hindi kasi siya, di nila alam nasan siya eh. So, paano nila siya paprotektahan kung di nila siya mahanap?
Okay. Ewan ko sa kanilang dalawa.
All right, so we leave you with that, the mental image of Senator Bato with a full head of hair as our hump day treat for you guys. But that's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Good night.